game is an amateur game. I mean, the professional side of it, there are idols and heroes and fun to watch them play. But I mean, if it wasn't for amateur golf, there would be no golf.
On a nice day, it's very scoreable. When you go play it on a 15, 20 mile an hour day and you're hanging on to your pants. And I think I love that about that style of golf, link style of golf.
You have to remember, when you play a golf course and you're out there for 4 hours or whatever, you're only hitting a ball for 15 minutes of that. So there's a lot of time to look around.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Top 100 Clubhouse podcast. I've got David Davis here. How are you doing, David?
I'm fabulous. Thank you so much.
David Davis is CEO of top100golfcourses.com, and we have planned to do a wee review of something that we don't talk about much, but there is a club within Top 100 called Lockhart Travel Club. And David is the man who hosts and runs and manages everything within that club, apart from people who help him organize a few things here or there. It's called the Lockhart Travel Club. How's it
with a lot of
help?
With a lot of help, let's say.
lot of help.
Fair to say.
Do you want to explain a wee bit about the origins of the Lockhart Travel Club and where it's come from?
Yeah, absolutely. So Lockhart, it in its simplest form, Lockhart is this, growing, amazing community of golf nuts like us that are hungry to have these wonderful experiences all around the world. We've been extremely lucky with it because, it's moving very quickly and has a great following of really interesting people from great clubs around the world. And we've just been able to have incredible opportunities to share these amazing experiences with this group that is and has been growing over, incredibly over the last year. So, Beth, I'm sure that when you have the same thing when you talk about it, it's a bit humbling almost. It's like, okay, we're actually taking people to do some of the most amazing things anywhere. We have an opportunity to do it. It's something I would have loved to have over, the 23 plus years that I spent extensively traveling around the world and, having opportunities to play great courses, a lot of which I did alone. It would have been amazing to do that with Lockhart guys, with this fun group of people from great clubs that love this stuff. So, that is essentially that's Lockhart, and it is, like I said, it's something that I wish I would have had around to do myself. And, I don't know what you think, because you're young enough to still be, discovering and playing great courses all over the place for the first time and exploring. But, you've been a wonderful host on several events. What would you say?
Well, there's one thing I would say is you're very conscious about the group. So you're very conscious about the people that are involved. You're not going to have people involved that don't get it and understand the environment that you're going into. So you're quite selective on that factor. So whenever you turn up at a trip, and the ones I have hosted, I've turned up and everyone's just got along and been golf nerds and wanted to enjoy themselves over golf, have a few beers, and just like it's hard to describe. It's a difficult thing to gauge, and it's impressive that you've been able to do it. Being able to get the right people within the environment so that that every trip you go on, you're going to be able to be friends with everyone in that group and enjoy the environment no matter what your four is or whoever you're playing with.
Yeah, and actually add to that the fact that we've got 21 nationalities right now in the club. So it is not a UK club or a US club or whatever, a continental European club, of course, that wouldn't make sense. But in fact, it is like a truly international club. I mean, when we started it, that was that was the goal, that was the aim, that was kind of what we wanted to do. And that's been really exciting to see that, take fruition. It wasn't easy in the beginning, of course, right? Because, people are like, well, what is this? We've never heard of something like this. And it's true. There isn't anything like Lockhart. Nothing. Absolutely not anywhere. So that is, that's something that when all of us look at it, we can look at it and say, hey, this is really special, because where else can you find a guy from Switzerland, an Australian, a Kiwi, a Spaniard, and British guy, an Irish, and an American on a trip together? It almost sounds like a great joke, right?
Yeah, it does.
Over the years, we'd run into so many people that would love to go to the Melbourne Sandbelt, that would love to go to the UK, that would love to go to the US to visit great courses, but they don't know people there, maybe, or they can't get their buddies to go. I mean, that's probably the biggest part, right?
Yeah.
The camaraderie that develops, just like you said, these guys are going, they're making friends for life, basically. They're wanting to, go on trips with them separately, and they do it all the time, and we encourage that, that camaraderie within the club and the community. So that just organically happens, and that's the best way to do it. That's probably the single best part about it. It's not that maybe you get to play a top 10 course in the world or a top 20 course in the world or whatever, or many of them. The fact is you get to do it with somebody that, you'll be friends with for life, basically. And that is definitely the best part of Lockhart.
Well, that's it. Every trip I've been on, the WhatsApp groups are still alive.
Exactly.
Which says a lot, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So
no, you're absolutely right. And then, we can touch on this later, but we're growing and developing, and we have requests to do more events in the UK and the US, but shorter events as well, so that people can do like long weekend events. Because up until now, we've really focused on longer events, and once those are full, they're full, and we have a robust schedule. Like we can run through things in a minute, and we'll talk about the schedule a bit. But we have an incredible schedule that's very robust for the size of the membership that we've created so far. So there's more than enough opportunities for people to have those experiences and to get out and get out and participate and stuff like that.
So before we move on to what I would like to know, which is where the name Lockhart came from, I want to ask you what you're drinking.
Okay. So James and I have agreed to have a little a whiskey tasting together with this podcast. Now, there's a reason for it. It's a little bit selfish reason on my part, but I am 55 today, so it's my 55th birthday, and in celebration of that, I've picked out 3 beautiful whiskeys to sample as we're having our discussion. So you might see my speech start to slur and stuff like that as we're going. Probably not, but I have right now and by the way, this is not advertising, but it could be, and it would be really good advertising. I have this beautiful bottle that James brought to me, actually.
How is it?
And you're going to have to, it's Mortlacht.
Yep, spot on.
Okay, Mortlacht 16, a 16-year-old bottle. I am sampling it right now. It's absolutely fabulous. Very
it's
smooth.
Really good.
It is like very buttery.
Yeah.
Really wonderful taste to it. The next one that I will sample is this. It's a Glen Keith 25-year-old bottle. Hey, I'm 55, so you at least got to think of something that's matured a little bit, right? And so this one, I don't know very well yet. I have sampled it, can't remember, but are you familiar with Glen Keith?
No, I'm not. I don't know at all, actually. For someone who drinks whiskey.
Speyside. Is it Speyside?
Yeah, Speyside.
So it's a Speyside single malt. I won't go into a great deal on all these. This is one of my favorites, actually. This is a Dalmore, 24-year-old bottle, which is a stunning, beautiful bottle. This was gifted to me by the owner of Shanken Bay in China,
Wow.
and they had these brewed. I can grab the box because that was really cool. So this is from a, believe it or not, this was from a Lockhart trip. We met him in Japan, and I knew one of the guys with him, and so he brought this beautiful box, and you can see it says Shanken Bay there.
Wow.
So they the guy came out of the blue, and I didn't know he was going to do that, and he said, "Oh, I have a gift for you." So as you do, if you're incredibly wealthy guy who owns Shanken Bay, and he says, "Oh, here's a little gift," and I'm thinking, okay, he gave me one of these pop-up things or whatever, basically that they give out a lot. And instead, he gave me a 24-year-old Dalmore whiskey, which is incredibly beautiful. And as on a 55th birthday, a little swig of that, I'll let that fly.
Well, cheers to your birthday, but that Dalmore is a serious beast. I love that. I love a 24-year-old Dalmore. There's the guy Richard Patterson, who is the head blender at Dalmore, is a hoot. And if you want to follow someone wild on Twitter, his tagline, I think, is "The Nose." And he's a complete and utter nutter. He's been on.
So he can smell everything basically and tell you what's in it and what's.
He's incredible, and his biggest recommendation with a lot of his whiskeys is a cigar.
Well,
yeah,
no doubt. I'm not a big cigar guy, but I know some, and it's a fabulous complement to a very nice whiskey. There's no doubt. A good cigar.
Well,
what are you nurturing there?
I've got something quite bizarre, golf focused. I've got Hickory Forever, James Braid 150th anniversary bottle. So Beautiful. There's a company called Hickory Forever, based in East Lothian, and they own the rights to a load of the old golf architects and golf course pro golfers. So a number of interesting people, from Willie Park to James Braid to Ben Sayers to who else, Walter Hagen, number of others, and they do individual bottlings of single casks. To
how cool is that?
In memory of the greats. And then my next bottle is going to be a Cadenhead Madeira cask, 21-year-old from Glenfarclas Distillery, which is probably one of the weirdest distilleries in the world. Still family-owned, bit bizarre, Speyside, bit wild. And then I've got something that I actually took on the Royals trip. I brought this whiskey with me for the bus journeys.
And we didn't finish it?
No, it's not finished. I'm surprised. I think I think everyone was getting a wee bit tired. It was towards the end of the trip that we opened it. But it's a 24-year-old Springbank that was only released for one day.
Uh-huh. So, I did sample that, actually, yes.
Yeah, it's one of 1,000 bottles or something like that, and 35 CL. But it's quite a fun thing that I try and bring to all my hosting trips, the ones that I do. I try and bring a bottle of whiskey that's a bit different, a bit one-off.
Your whiskey game is very strong.
It's not compared to yours tonight. You're winning. I think you're.
I don't know. That's pretty. That's a celebrity death match waiting to happen. I think that's pretty good.
Mine's younger, but a bit more bizarre, which maybe it's not a good thing. Anyway, so talking about the Lockhart Club, where did the name Lockhart Club from?
So, Robert Lockhart is where the name came from. Robert Lockhart was a Scottish linen merchant traveling back and forth between Edinburgh and New York back in the late 1800s. On one fateful journey, he brought a couple of crates of these funny-looking hook-shaped objects that his buddy Old Tom Morris had assembled and put together for him. And he brought those to the New World. He introduced them to his friends, they proceeded to start to use them and hit these balls around in apple orchards, and they coined themselves the Apple Orchard Gang or the Orchard Gang or something like that. Apple Orchard Gang, I think. And then later, those same gentlemen went on to establish the first golf club in the United States, the St. Andrews Golf Club. And so we've adopted his name because he's the first ever golf traveler, and it's in his spirit that we, go about this crazy, extremely interesting global golf exploration that we do and we share with everybody.
So the idea of him being the first real global golf traveler.
Exactly.
So
his spirit is deep within us. There's no doubt about it.
There's definitely a lot of oceans crossed, I'll tell you that one.
Yes.
So tell me a wee bit about the standard of being a membership. So when you become a member, what do you expect to receive? What do you see? What's your planned trips that you get to sign up for? And is there a waiting list for these trips? I want to know the specifics of being a member and what you expect.
That's a lot of questions in one question.
You're going to be talking for a while.
So the best way to answer that is that, I mentioned earlier, we have a pretty robust schedule. So if I do, a little bit of a year in review, let's say, and I look at what happened this last year. So anybody who was a member had an opportunity to play 34 World Top 100 courses, past and present, in this last year. So that's 1/3 of the World Top 100, basically. That's pretty amazing. I never had that opportunity before. It took me 20 years to play the world, or whatever. No, not quite 20. It took me 18 years to play the World Top 100, roughly. So that's pretty amazing. And this was, these courses were spread across 13 countries. So, when we say truly International Golf Travel Club, we weren't kidding. I mean, that's more countries than, whatever. I can joke around and say that's more countries than 99.9% of Americans have ever been to, of course, in 1 year. So that's a lot. That's extensive travel. Nobody was able to be on all those trips, including you or I or anybody else. But we have a couple people that tried, which is kind of funny. They would be the award winners. They tried to be on as many as possible. So and rightly so. If they have the time and the inclination to do it, then that's an amazing opportunity to do it. So we usually launch, with the club, we'll launch the schedule in May for the following year. So there's plenty of time to start planning in advance, or pick ones that you want to go on, and then people can sign up, and that's confirmed when they take care of their deposit for the trip, basically. So then they're fixed and set up on a trip. But yeah, I mean that's how we've set it up. But to give an idea of the schedule in looking back at last year. So we started in Florida in January. The next trip was like the best courses of Thailand and China, which is fairly unique, and that adds extensive traveling. And if that wasn't far enough away, we went to Brazil after that in March. Then because we're skipping around the world, we went to Japan and Korea after that. Amazing, a couple of weeks over there. That gives you a really good idea. We did the Northwest England, the Royals, all those type of courses. Then we had a brilliant Scotland trip into the Middle Hebrides and the islands, and then back. We did a best of Scandinavia, where we finished up at Lofoten Links up in northern, in the Arctic Circle, basically, which was phenomenal. We did a couple of fall U.S. trips that were like, really unbelievable trips, including amazing courses over there. And we ended down under in Australia at the end of November. So during November, that's about a bit of a longer trip with a stop out in Tasmania and back. So, there's a serious amount of air miles involved in that year. An incredible amount of travel, an incredible amount of wonderful and crazy experiences, several of which you had yourself. And then, that is, if you're looking a year ahead and you have that kind of schedule to choose from, and that there's going to be great people on all those trips, and you can go on any one of them and, come away meeting new people and having a blast, it's not that difficult to choose for something like that, right? And you look at it and you just go, wow, that's an incredible opportunity for travel.
Which, out of all those trips, which one do you think would be the most surprising or shocking to someone from America?
Brazil for someone from anywhere.
Oh, yeah?
Absolutely.
Is there a special reason?
Because nobody thinks about golf in Brazil, except for the 60 Brazilians that play golf, or 160 or whatever it is, right? Not very many, but that is, look, the first group we ever took, we had two guys that had played more than 1,000 courses. We had, three guys that had played the World Top 100, and those guys came back and, partially because of the incredible surprise and the amazing courses and camaraderie and all those things that we had, matches against several clubs and stuff, they came back and said one of the top 5, one of the best trips they've ever taken. And they've all played Augusta, and they've all played, Cypress and Pine Valley and you name it, all the great courses. And they said that was that special. I'm going to argue it's even better, but I'm biased, right? Of course. So, that is if you pick out as good as that schedule is, as many world top 10s and all those things that fit into that schedule and amazing experiences, you're not going to beat it. There's no way. And it is also one of those, it's really weird to say that, but it's a money can't buy type of thing. So nobody can offer that. And that's something that we offer, and it's something that is amazing. So, easy one to ring the bell on and say like, wow, that one's unbelievable.
Well, for you to say that, and for me to host the Inner Hebrides and kind of Machrihanish and Campbelltown way, and to have that experience, and to think there's a possibility for things to be above that, it's really
I get it, and it's one of those things that, for me to say it, I guess there's a small number of people out there that know that I played a lot of golf around the world, right? Not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm just saying I've seen a lot, and I love that. Obviously, I've been passionate about it for many, many years. And still there's things out there that will blow your mind, that you have to see them. There's nothing I can say, literally. And all the guys that have been would agree with that. There's nothing I can say that will do it justice, basically. So you go, it's like, to me, it's like the first time I jumped out of a plane, basically, right? When you skydive and you land back on the ground, you just feel different about the world. And that's like the closest thing I can think of, yeah.
There's a few guys when we did the Royals trip were saying the same thing about China and that area that a lot of people would underrate for golf. And
to be fair, we only played one course, but I actually went on to, that was one of the only courses I played on my own this year. Incidentally, sorry, this is not about me personally, but I went to Shanghai and played a course there as well afterwards. But as a group, we only played one course there, and that was incredible. I won't go into like the the name of the course and all that type of stuff. But one course that's deserves to be ranked very high in the world top 100. That is absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, can't say enough about that place. But that is one of those very rare and unique places that you kind of have to experience to believe it. Otherwise, it just doesn't register. And there's not many places like that in the world.
What's been your golf courses on the trips? Because you do add some B-sides, are a horrible way of saying it, but they're not. It's all about experience the other golf courses within that area round, say, I don't know, it'd be like the crown jewel and then seeing the gold round it, right?
Yeah.
And what's been your favorite B-sides on the trips you've done this year?
Yeah. So that's a great question. The first one, it's funny, but the first one that pops into my mind, you were there. So which is pretty unique, right? So when we did the Northwest England trip and visit all the Royals, I mean, everybody goes to that thinking, wow, Royal Liverpool, Royal Lytham, Royal Birkdale, those are incredible places, incredible courses with amazing histories and all those type of things. And the only course I hadn't played on that trip was Wallasey, and that was also one that was just, I was blown away because I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. The land was so interesting. There were so many unique and fun golf holes that you just don't see in other places, and that's pretty special when you start running into. When you think you've seen a lot and then you see something that it could, even if there was one fun, unique, different golf hole, that'd already be a win, right? When you've seen a lot. And in the case of Wallasey, there was all kinds. It was just a joyous ride on a glorious day with a beautiful wind and everything. We had, ticked every box basically. So not only great course, but great experience. That's a really good first example.
Well, it's a golf course that could, honestly, if sand dunes continued for another 50 meters, 100 meters, it'd be in the top 100 in the world kind of vibes. It's real, it's a serious piece of property they've got there. They're just unfortunate, but they've done it well where they've routed it so the par fives are down on the flats, so you're not in that area too much, but it's a fantastic place, and they've got the legendary Bobby Jones, and it's where the Stableford was invented. And
exactly.
So where else have you got on that list?
So, okay, a really big surprise was Stonehill in Thailand. That's a Kyle Phillips course, but I had little expectations going in, and I was really impressed with that. Now that's a completely modern course, right? It's only a few years old. I think they held a live event there a couple of years ago, but that's an unsung hero, and for me that's probably the best course in Thailand. And I played a few, but not every single course. I didn't play all the resort courses. Normally it would be pretty tough for a resort course to be ranked number one in a country, let's say, just because the rankings should be about just the golf and the architecture, whereas resort kind of fills in all different packages and luxury and all these different types of things. But Stonehill was phenomenally good for a modern course, and I am a fan of Kyle Phillips. I mean, I absolutely love South Cape Owners Club. I'm a big proponent of that course, and love to go back there every year, basically. So that was a really good one. I will ring the bell on that one for sure. In Japan, Abiko, that was the first time that I'd ever seen Abiko, and everybody loved it. Everybody who had seen it. Now that's a course that I would say outside of Japan, very few people know about it. It's a very private course as well in Japan, so it's not like a lot of Japanese people have played it outside of their membership. They had a very thoughtful renovation by Brian Silva and Kai Golby a few years back, and I think that was done. It's like almost under the radar, let's say, at least under the radar for the people from the West, or for us, even us golf architecture nerds. It might receive some mention, but not that many people have seen it actually. I was really impressed. It's great land. It has a little bit of a Hirono feel to it. It was fabulous. I mean, if you want to call that a B-side, I don't know. You could. In any of these, like, is it fair to call Wallasey a B-side?
No.
The only reason it's a B-side is because people who are traveling might not go there first, right? So therefore it becomes a B-side, which has a negative connotation to it from music, music genres. But a B-side for golf that's how I would place it. I'd place it as a course that, it wouldn't be number one on your list of to travel to, but you should include it, and it might be your favorite out of the group, basically at the end of the day. So that's a unique difference between golf B-sides. Would you agree with that?
100%. And it's kind of the same in music. There would be a popular notion of what's top of the pops, but a lot of the time you listen to the turned over tape and you might find your favorite song there or further down the track list. It's not, I wouldn't say B-side has a negative connotation. It's just not the one that everyone talks about, right?
Right.
So your favorite track might be something else. And it's just, like, I fell in love with Matt Granish Dunes this year.
Okay.
I thought
Fair.
incredible landform. I think David McClay Kid's done a great job, and the fact they were able to open the fairways has been a big improvement to that space, and it's a wonderful, wonderful site to play golf on. So there's a good example of a B-side of one of the trips.
Yeah.
That it's just fun golf, right? It's you have the quirkiness of an old school golf course, and David is quite proud of the fact that he's done that on a piece of property that he wasn't allowed to do much on.
Yeah, no, exactly. Very little, but the land movements are crazy on Mac Dunes. The last time I played there at Mac Dunes, I played with Rand Morissette, who I consider a good friend. He's the architecture editor of Golf Magazine, and we could barely stand up. The wind was blowing so hard. I mean, it was almost comical, and we had a blast. I mean, the wind was probably blowing, I don't know, it's got to be 50 miles an hour at least. And when I say barely stand up, Rand had one of those really stable kind of carts with him, and it blew over and over and over and over. Like I watched that thing get blown over 100 times during the round or whatever. It was incredible. So it was very windy, and there's a lot of fun shots out there. It's a crazy course. It's a little bit quirky in places, I think, but agree with you. There's a lot of fun landforms, crazy humps and bumps, and fun shots.
But that plays to my sensibilities. Like, if you give me a flat golf course that is all about pure ball striking and accuracy, then I'm turned off and bored.
Yeah,
it's I need curvy women in my life, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So my favorite course, the favorite new course of the year, actually, is hands down Lofoten Links. So finally, after 2 tries to get up there, both failed. I managed to get up there with one of our Lockhart groups, and we were treated to some phenomenally good weather. That I think that helps when you're going up that far north. It seems like in the season, it seems like they do get quite a lot of really nice days. But we had one day where it was windy and cold. It was very playable and very enjoyable. And then the next day, you could go around in t-shirts, literally, like, short sleeve shirts, and that wasn't expected. But we were treated to something that is mind-bogglingly good. It's just phenomenal. So that was pretty special. And one of the things that I think's pretty unique if you're running around the world is that it's a disappointment to go. I'll just pick on Sweden for a minute. It's a disappointment to go to Sweden and play American parkland courses for me. If you've traveled a lot, and you've run around, the last thing you want to do is go all the way around the world to play something that you can do better back home, basically.
Yeah.
That's a golf architecture pet peeve of mine, and one of the reasons why I like to often I'll talk about geographic affirmative action when it comes to rankings. All things being equal, I would pick something that has a little bit more uniqueness to its country that it's in, for example, which is why places like Lofoten are so special. Places like Santa Pacienza are so special because they are uniquely to that place where they exist. And there's nothing like them any place in the world, or even close to it. So just that fact alone, that you could go there and find 18 completely unique holes, not running into the same dogleg right, dogleg left, whatever, over and over and over again, right? And similar green complexes.
Fairway.
18 completely different and unique holes that are unique and would kind of only fit in that place in those countries. To me, that's special. And you want to talk about unique experiences that we've had with the Lockhart guys. Well, to me, those hit home, and probably if you're with me in any of those places, you'll understand why, right? Because I'm just so fascinated by that, and so that's looking at a year in review of Lockhart, those things really stick out.
There's a classic story in wine that because I studied wine before I did this, every person who's into actual wine, like actually into wine, not into the price of wine, is constantly on the search for something new and different, because wine has there's a massive spectrum of interest and difference. And so whenever something comes across your palate that is different and odd, it really wakes you up and makes you think, oh God, what's going on here? And it's exactly the same with what Lofoten and Lofoten's done, right? In that kind of rocky outcrop in the middle of the Arctic Circle. It's incredibly impressive what Frody's done. And hats off to him. He's managed to get to the point where he's sold it to, well, not sold, he's not fully sold out, is he? I don't really know the full understandings, but it's now part of the Cabot company.
Yeah.
So good on him.
Absolutely. Done something really, really special.
So David, as a member, what perks do you get? I know that there's a concierge service if you want to book your own travel. Yeah,
absolutely. That's right. We can just touch on that one quickly before you go on. But we certainly have that. We have Top Hunter Golf Travel. We have a bespoke high-end golf travel company as well. So we organize and book our golf through Top Hunter Golf Travel, and we have a concierge service that allows us to book your small group trips for your family, or groups of buddies or whatever, to all over the place pretty much. We can pretty much arrange. Let's say usually those requests are coming out of the U.S. But sometimes we've got UK going abroad. So far, that's where the bulk of those requests have come from. But UK is really big on that. UK and Ireland, Australia is pretty big on that. Anyway, there's several others that have been done, but those are most common.
Well, that's it. As a member, you do have a right to be able to use the planning services of the Lockhart Travel Club to be able to book your own holidays with your own mates. If you want to, it's a concierge service, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, I think we're pretty good at booking stuff pretty much anywhere. So that's, be that Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, UK, GBNI. U.S. obviously is more difficult because the U.S. is full of very, very private clubs that don't really have or offer any kind of access for the most part. So obviously that's a little bit more difficult. If somebody just calls us up from from the U.K. and says, "Oh, look, I'd like to play Pine Valley, Augusta, Cypress Point, and and maybe throw in Seminole on the same trip. Good luck. I'd like to do that too, and that hasn't happened yet. So
I tell you what, you'll get some air miles out of that trip.
you certainly will. Yeah. Sorry, those are the first ones that popped into my mind. But
Joe's already rejected me for that one.
Right.
But there is a lot of options out there that you can go and experience these places. So you can look at these lists that you're putting together and be able to pick and choose. And we will tell you if there's an issue that we can't do that one, we can't do that one, we can't do that one. But there is a lot of scope for you to be able to travel around the world on your own, or with your buddies outside of the Lockhart side.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we find is that most people do at least one, maybe two buddy trips a year. Most Lockhart members do at least one trip a year. We've even set up like our fee structure based on that and stuff like that as well. So, we have an annual fee that basically is set up that it's pretty constant. It's not changing. It's split into two components, half of which is kind of a use it or lose it credit. That's really to encourage people to make an effort, do at least one event a year, because we know people are going to love it and then they're going to want to do more. Whether that can fit in with family plans and everything else, that's another story, of course. I can't help you with that. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much how it works.
But turning up on a Lockhart trip.
So just jumping back onto the benefits that people get, being part of that this growing community is a big one of members. We've got literally members all around the world at amazing places that are super keen. So if you were someplace on business and we had members in that place, which often is the case, you got somebody to most likely have somebody to grab a game with and stuff like that. Obviously, you meet more people when you do more events and get engaged and stuff. And that's just the nature of how it works. But they're super friendly people, and that's really, really cool and really unique as well.
What do you experience on these trips as a person who has joined Lockhart? What's your involvement in the planning, in the movement, and everything involved in the actual trip? Is it all done for you and you just turn up and your hands held all the way through? You just play golf and eat good food?
Yeah, most of the trips are kind of shut your brain off type trips, basically, which is really nice. People love that aspect of it, that they're just kind of being guiding through, because they're all hosted trips. People like myself, like James, we're hosting trips, and there's a lot of great stories. There's great shared experiences. There's, in a lot of cases, there's really interesting local people that we know. Sometimes it's golf architects. Sometimes it's managers of clubs or owners of clubs or whatever. But there's just an amazing community of people out there that love to engage and to share what they're doing.
So next, I would love to talk about the schedule for the next year. What's the plans if you wanted to become a member? This is what's next.
Yeah, I mean, we have, again, an incredibly robust schedule for 2025. That starts us in, so there's right now there's 12 countries. We might end up adding to that, actually, because we've just experienced a really incredible growth of Lockhart over this last year. We set the schedule in May, so we kind of have to run with it and adjust as we're going. But we're starting the year with opportunities to go to Bermuda and Florida. There's a kind of combined trip there. South Africa in February, Brazil again in March. Brazil will be an every year thing. It's just too spectacular not to. We'll have an amazing trip through Portugal to kind of play the best courses in Portugal. And we're gonna do a U.S. trip, likely Colorado and Nebraska in June. A Netherlands trip, which obviously is close to my heart, in July. A couple of in August. We're setting up some English links matches, which will be really fun. Then in September, we're doing some Heathland matches in England, which will be a blast as well. We've got a Pennsylvania trip on the cards in October, which includes some amazing places. We are back a couple of years ago. We went to New Zealand. We're back in New Zealand in November, which will be a phenomenal trip with incredible landscapes and amazing food and just a wonderful experience going through New Zealand. If you've never been, it's a phenomenally beautiful place, of course. And then we'll do a final event in Cabo at the end of the year in December, where the weather's nice all the time. So it's a really good time to go down there. And then there's some great golf down there to play as well. Really fun.
Sounds amazing.
It's absolutely amazing. And I will add to that we're working on a lot of expansion stuff at the moment as well. Among that, which is not yet etched in stone, but really exciting, is that we have a lot of wine lovers and we have a lot of whiskey lovers. Enter James and myself for the whiskey part and probably the wine part, basically. Yeah. We're guilty of both. So we're working on starting up a whiskey series and starting up a wine series, both. That will be in addition to these current events, because these are really golf-centric events. Those would be events with a lot of golf, and then also wine tastings or whiskey tastings and stuff like that combined with it, which is really fun, and that's been requested from our members as well. So that gives you an idea about the group. It's not that everybody's really into their drinking or anything, but we do have wine lovers and we do have whiskey lovers, and we do have some cigar lovers, and so there's a lot of directions that we're encouraging with regards to the club in general. Also, as I had mentioned earlier in the pod, most of these trips, like if I look through them, there's a couple really long trips, relatively long, because it's so far to go and there's a lot of ground to cover in those areas. So like Japan, Korea, obviously 2 different countries. There's a bit of logistics involved in that. Incredible culture and amazing trip, but it's almost a 2-week trip, right? Australia and New Zealand, both of those are literally almost 2-week trips, because for most people, except for our local members, it's going around the world to get to them. So there's a lot involved to get to those places, and going for a week is just too short, honestly. So boo-hoo, right? Sad for the people that have to put up with that and go to those. But most of the trips, because it's essentially International Travel Club, are overseas. That being said, we're looking at expanding and doing more like long weekend type trips in both the US and the UK moving forward. So that will tick a lot of boxes for people, because there'll be an incredible opportunity to if you don't have that much vacation, or you're really busy with family time still, and you're in that stage of life where you have a lot going on, you can get away for a weekend, right? And those will be amazing trips and opportunities to engage and make new friends and meet members and play amazing places, but in a little bit shorter, without spending a minimum 6-7 days on a trip.
I already know the ones I want to do. I already know the weekend trips. I know obviously it'd be great to go to New Zealand or to go to Japan or whatever, but the weekend trips based in the UK, I know which ones I think I would love to do. And the one that I would strongly recommend, I mean, if you are into golf and golf course architecture, one of those trips that I would strongly recommend anyone to do is the Holland trip, Netherlands trip. We were fortunate enough to go out there. Wow.
Speaking from first-hand information.
David was very, very kind to host the team out there the other day, and my God, the golf in Holland is serious. I mean, and nothing's that far away from each other.
That is what's incredibly unique. You can go to the UK. So I'm digging into the Dalmore, by the way.
Yeah, good man.
I'm kind of excited. So just to, and then of course you're talking about the Netherlands, which is my home. Yeah. So what's really unique about the Netherlands is that in a very, very, within a very, very short distance, you can get from amazing heathland courses to amazing links courses. You can't do that anywhere. You can't do that in the UK.
You can't.
You could if there was no traffic. To be fair,
the only difference between the two is the fact that it's about an hour less, and both would be in the top 100.
Exactly.
That's one of the cool things that Holland sets themselves apart.
Yeah, that's pretty rare. Very few people know that. The ones that do probably would prefer to keep it a secret, if I'm honest, and not tell anybody, so that they can kind of have it to themselves. But it is true. I mean, if you were to go in a day and, for example, whatever, I wouldn't advise you to do that. But let's say that you went to, Royal Hague and Utrecht upon in one day. You would just, it would blow your mind. You experienced two courses that couldn't be different from each other. Both ranked in the World Top 100, both deserving of it, even maybe higher rankings than they currently have. And James, what do you think? Having just experienced them, that's not what you expected, I think.
So the geographical nature of Holland has given it a bit of a hindrance in terms of the top 100 world lists. Mm-hmm. And I would say that there's a few, if not more, golf courses in the UK and maybe Ireland that don't have the quality of golf course that Dupin and Royal Hague have. Yeah. That are above them on the list.
Can't argue with that.
And I genuinely think that Holland's a forgotten golf destination. Not because it's not anymore, because of what you've done in increasing the profile worldwide of the country, but I do think that if someone went and played Utrecht Dupin and played any of the Heathlands in London that are ranked higher than it, a normal golfer wouldn't be able to describe the difference. If anything, they might prefer Utrecht Dupin. And in terms
totally agree with that.
In terms of a links course, you've got Royal Hague, which someone told me on my Instagram how to pronounce it in Dutch. I have no chance. I'm so far away. I've tried in front of the mirror.
You want another? So, Koninklijke Haagse Golf and Country Club.
Koninklijke Haas Golf.
From obviously with a strong American accent.
But so apart from the 18th, which feels bizarrely out of place on that place.
Yeah.
It is one of the bravest routings you'll ever see on a links golf course.
Yeah.
There's nothing that crosses the dunes like it does.
That's Charles Hugh Allison.
It's amazing. It's so cool. And people need to wake up to these two incredible golf courses. And I've not played the others in Holland, so I haven't had the joys of playing Kennemer or Noordwijk or any of the others. And I can't wait to get back.
Good on you. Good pronunciation. That was impressive. Nobody gets Noordwijk correct, but you got it. Like nailed it. So that's really good. So I'll tell you what I'm going to call it right now. Within 5 years, Noordwijk's going to be World Top 100. Sorry, I just have to say that. We're going to have a complete renovation. If that renovation happens, which it should happen, club has voted for it. We're just waiting for the permits. If that happens, Holland will have 3 World Top 100s, and nothing will stop it. It'll be amazing.
How many countries have 3 World Top 100s?
Well, not many. Probably less than 10. Sorry, I mean less than. That's a stupid. So
America's up to the number 1.
Less than 5. Yeah. So U.S. then
UK.
Then UK.
Australia.
Well,
Ireland.
England, Scotland, Ireland.
Oh yeah.
Even Northern Ireland can't say that actually.
No, it's only 2.
Yeah, it's 2. So.
But 2 real showstopper.
2 heavyweights, exactly. So it's 2 serious heavyweights. Australia, New Zealand. No, New Zealand still.
K-Kidnappers is just in, right? Or is it
yeah.
not?
And I suspect that the Terrari courses will go in as well. So that'll mean, Tar Iti, the Terrari courses, at least one of them for sure. And then, Cape Kidnappers, I don't know. That might move out of the list at some point. But, and Parawamu Beach, excuse me if I said that wrong, that's phenomenal as well. So that's always one of those in the bucket from 75 to 100 type of courses, which is phenomenally good.
So that made the Dutch the 5th best golf courses fifth most important.
Look, I'm just calling. If there was a betting way, like you could put money down, I'd put a couple $100 on that.
I wouldn't,
or a couple $100, and bet that in 5 years' time, the Netherlands will have 3 World Top 100 courses.
I wouldn't disagree with you. I would not disagree with you. I was, and I know for a fact anyone can just scan over Google Maps and look at that coastline that the Netherlands has.
It's unbelievable.
They could be the most important golfing nation in the world if they wanted, if they had but they're not going to do it. But there's just dunes everywhere because of the way
The only way that we'll ever get there is very corrupt politicians, and if that comes, we've got it made.
We want to be that Dutch architect sitting there waiting, like, right, okay, who can I find with a lot of money to pay a load of people? Yeah. Is there anything you want to tell possible new members about the process, or?
Well, I'll tell you what. We've reached our we have these different membership milestones where big changes happen every time. We have reached one of our big membership milestones, and that means that right now, literally, if you want to apply or this sounds interesting, this is the best time ever to do that. As of the 1st of January, unfortunately both, but unfortunately, the sign-up fee for Lockhart is, more than tripling actually. So that's a big jump. So between now and the 1st of January, if this is in your wheelhouse and you think, oh my God, I'd love to be doing this type of stuff, this is extremely interesting, it's now, or else it's, going to be one of those situations where you look at a massively growing club and with incredible opportunities. And if your dream is to, meet these really interesting people like yourself and run around the world playing the best courses in the world and those type of things, then you should be part of it. And you should apply to be part of it. And now's the best time to do it. If you know a member, that's the best way to, definitely the best way to get involved. And we just have, explaining about our process. We've got a membership committee. They meet every other week. It depends on the time of year, and then evaluate what's going on. We look for people that really know, understand, and respect the game and the ethics behind it, and all those type of things. Understand how private clubs work. If we're going to some really private place in Japan or the U.S. or whatever, and people don't understand and respect the club and know that we're honored to have an opportunity just to go see it. We don't have a right to go see any of them. We have, that we're just in a really unique and wonderful position to have an opportunity to see them. Then we have to respect their values and their culture, whatever country we're in, and their rules and everything else. Everybody that we have as a member now is 100% on board and knows that and follows that. And that's also something wonderful about it. People are pretty switched on, and if not, they figure it out before we go to some of these places. All of them are unique in their own way, and they have slightly different cultures and rules and things that they look at. And we insist that our members have the same, basically. So, and that's normal. I think that's normal in golf. In general, everybody follows the the rules that the RNA set out way back when, and that they respect in the UK and in the US and everywhere else.
Well, there's this legendary story that the Japanese are very unique in their style of their golf, but they're also very proud old traditionalists. But so are the Scots. So going to Scotland and going to places like Muirfield or going to Hirono is probably a very similar experience, more similar than actually going to Australia or going
Absolutely.
to... Which I
Yeah,
find
there's no
hilarious.
doubt about it. I mean, obviously, if you go to some of the, if you're talking Royal Melbourne, Kingston Heath, whatever, those really well-respected traditional clubs, which the Sandbelt's full of them, for example, right? New South Wales, all those clubs, if you go to those, they're pretty formal, to be honest.
very much
They
so.
very much follow the traditions of golf. Even you'd be surprised if you go to Brazil, they follow the traditions of golf. If you go to places like São Paulo Golf Club and Gouveia and whatever, they are really, even some of them are more formal. I mean, the people know how to have fun. They know how to sit down and have a long lunch and, sometimes a long liquid lunch, whatever it may be, basically. But they are formal in the nature of how they look at the game, and they are very much following that, what's been laid out by the Scots, of course.
I find it hilarious that if you understand it, you get it, you can play anywhere. Is there anything you want to add to potential new members? Anything that you want to say, these are something we've not covered? Or...
Well, I mean, I would say, look, if people are interested, take a look at www.lockharttravelclub.com. Click on the Learn More. Send us a note. You can send me a note personally, no problem. That's David at LockhartTravelClub.com. For example, you could get in touch with James as well.
Yep.
Easily, no problem. And basically, it requires introducing yourself if you're really interested. Maybe telling a little bit about your golf travels. Your aspirations of golf travel, handicap, home club, normal stuff that you'd be required to tell anywhere. Probably something that's important because of the places that we're going all the time. It is very important that people are members of private clubs, because then we can assure that you understand the culture and everything behind these type of visits. Like we said, some of the places are really sensitive. And the minimum expectation is that people understand that and know, and those are not risks that we can take. So that's the pure reason behind it. It's just that you need to know that people respect the rules and the history of the game and all those type of things. So that's just the standard.
Well, David, thanks very much for joining us on the Top 100 Clubhouse podcast to talk about really your kind of baby, right? Would I say it's your kind of...
I mean, a little bit, yes, but
very proud of it, and you should be.
Very proud of it. Yeah, mainly in terms of involvement and stuff like that, and really excited about the next year and expanding and growing it and stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, I'm very excited too, because I know for a fact that I'm a wee bit involved and I get to host some special things because of it. So thank very much for coming on, David. And if anyone wants to get in touch, either get in touch at David at top100golfcourses.com or James at top100golfcourses.com. And I'm sure there will be a conversation over the phone or over email to see if you want to become a member. That's the end for us, and play fast, lunch slow.